Banjo-Kazooie is one of my favorite game franchises of all time. Rare's signature charm oozes out of every aspect of these games. The characters, stories, and worlds of the N64 original have become absolutely timeless. Its sequels and spin-offs retain and build on what made the original such a success, but there's truly no other game quite like Banjo-Kazooie. Now, the Bear and the Bird haven't gotten a new game in nearly 15 years, and while there's always a sliver of hope that a new Banjo game is on the way, I wanted to celebrate the franchise's 25th anniversary in my own way. So without further ado, I'd like to present what I've been working on for the better part of a year, and I hope you enjoy. So, what did you think? What you just saw is the beginning of a massive project that I started a while back called Project-Redooie. It's intended to be a full visual remake of the original Banjo-Kazooie, taking the game's original levels and remaking them from the ground up. It's not a playable game, but more of a look into what a modern remake might look like. So let's dive back in and take a deeper look into my take on the game's tutorial world, Spiral Mountain. I tried to keep the layout of the level as close to the original as possible. As you can see, all the landmarks are here, from Banjo's house to Grunty's lair. So let's take a closer look at Banjo's house. Down the dirt road, we can see a few of the areas where players learn the basic controls and gameplay. Of course, the centerpiece of Spiral Mountain is Spiral Mountain itself. Getting the geometry of the spiral just right was an interesting challenge, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Across the rope bridge is Gruntilda the Witch's menacing lair. Blending the stone and brick materials was especially effective here, I think. Let's take a look at the characters that inhabit Spiral Mountain. First up is Topper the Carrot. These guys can be found hopping around the path to Banjo's house and near the pond. Next up is Ball the Onion. This was the first character I remade for this project, and I think he was a fun character to start with. Next is Collywobble the Cauliflower. This guy sort of floats around near the bridge to Spiral Mountain, and was kind of fun to animate. Finally, the Stoic Quarry the Boulders, all hanging out in a row here. Making all these characters was a fun challenge that gave me a little break from making the environment. And that's Spiral Mountain, the perfect start to what I consider a near perfect game, and a great way to kick off this project. I gotta say, it feels really good to finally have this out there, and I really hope that you've enjoyed it so far. I'm gonna take the next few minutes to show you exactly how I made this, the techniques and the tools that I used to help me get there. So let's take it way back to the beginning and see how this all happened. So, in order to keep the geometry as close as possible to the original game, I used the original game's in-game models as a basis for the new HD geometry. There's a modding tool for Banjo-Kazooie called Banjo's Backpack, which lets you inject a Banjo-Kazooie ROM and gain access to a lot of the game's content. It's used primarily for Banjo ROM hacks, but it also has a model viewer that lets you inspect and even export the game's 3D models. So I ripped the original model from the game and imported it into Blender. I went ahead and started modeling out the new geometry over the original model, and this process took a long time, a very long time. It took so long I had to take a break to get married. Extruding, nudging, grabbing, pushing, nudging, extruding over and over and over. I think I ended up spending more time on this than any other step in the process, but the end result was, well, still pretty close to the original geometry. Because I used the original geometry as a base, the HD model feels pretty reminiscent of the blocky N64 geometry. So I took some creative liberty and sculpted a little bit, smoothing out the rough edges. There are a few other assets that I modeled over the course of this project, including Banjo's house, the rope bridge, the tree stumps, and the stone bridge over the river. I also made an updated honeycomb piece, as that's the only collectible you can find in Spiral Mountain. Future levels will definitely have new versions of the other collectibles. I know, that was a lot, but don't worry. We're not even close to being done. Things are about to get pretty specific and technical, but bear with me, things are about to start making sense here soon. I think. Vertex painting is a technique in 3D rendering that allows an artist to assign colors to vertices and use that color information in a variety of different ways. Unity's High Definition Render Pipeline, or HDRP, has a shader that allows you to stack up to 4 PBR materials and blend between them via the use of vertex colors. See, I told you it was going to get technical. Anyway, I used this shader to blend some free materials I found online, and before I knew it, the environment was really coming along. It wasn't quite that simple since the layered shader only supports up to 4 layers, really only 3 since I'm using vertex colors, so I had to assign chunks of the geometry to different materials and make sure that they lined up. But honestly, that's a headache I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, so I won't go into it. I think now's a good time to mention another tool I use as a reference, especially when looking at the look of materials in the environment. NoClip.website is a really cool site that lets you fly through levels from tons of different games, including Banjo-Kazooie. It gives you a lot of control over the camera, and it does a fantastic job reproducing these levels exactly the way they look in their original games. Definitely check this site out if you're interested in level design. Moving on, the characters, like I said, were a really nice break from the environment grind, and flexing my character modeling, texturing, rigging, and animation muscles was very appreciated. I even set up a simple character AI system just to get them moving around the environment. And just like that, we're getting closer to finishing. Now, there are still a few more details that I need to fill you in on in order to get to the final product. Using a water shader I found on the asset store, I got the pond and river flowing just right, and a great grass shader completed the look of the grass that I was going for. I think the verticality of this shader really improves the environment and makes it feel a lot more lively. Finally, the sky and atmospheric effects brought the whole thing together. I originally wanted to use volumetric clouds for this, but getting the dark green clouds above Grunty's lair to look good just wasn't working out. So instead I opted to use Unity's cloud layers, which look pretty great in motion, and I was able to customize the clouds above Grunty's lair with a second cloud layer. A few tweaks to the colors and post-processing, and I was very happy with the look of the level, and I'm proud to say that this one is in the books. And so, that's the first episode of Project-Redooie. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to dive into the next episode. You can follow me on Twitter at @CagleyTime. I'm always posting updates on what I'm working on. So subscribe and hit the bell if you want to be notified whenever I upload next. Hopefully it's soon. Leave a like if you enjoyed the showcase, and comment down below what you'd like to see next. I've got a lot planned for this year, and I'm really excited to share it with you. Thanks for watching.